Thank you for tuning in to Love in Your Hands with Cynthia Clark, soulmate palmist, spiritual teacher, love coach, author, and speaker. We're sharing stories of love and connection and lessons learned along the way. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to ignite soulmate love fast using an innovative system to help you end loneliness and toxic relationships and elevate your vibrational energy to soulmate love and deeply compatible partners. Get started for free at loveinyourhands.com. And now here's your host, Cynthia Clark.
Hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Cynthia Clark, and I am your soulmate palmist and spiritual teacher. If you are looking for long-lasting love, all you need to do is go to loveinyourhands.com and you can get started for free in finding long-lasting love. So I'm very excited today, as always, to bring you a fantastic show. And I have a very wonderful person on the show today. His name is Jim Williams. He has the most incredible voice. Wait till you hear it, guys. And he is going to be sharing his hands and his story. And we are going to be learning about, we're going to be learning about how to advance in our lives. And of course, I like to talk about relationships, but I also like to talk about our relationship with ourselves and what can we learn from that. So welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Cynthia.
So tell me a little bit about you and what is it that you do, and we'll go from there.
Well, I've been a broadcaster on the radio for about 40 years, well, a little bit more than that now, and I've also written newspaper columns and primarily a media person. Now doing a few other things, a little more part-time on the broadcasting. We want to pick that back up again, or move on to some other stage. And I guess that's part of why I'm here, and part of why listen to your shows as often as possible.
Well, very good. So we are going to talk a little bit about maybe some of the questions that you have, and we're also going to take a look at your hands. So why don't we pull your hands up actually right now, and I'm going to do a screen share so everybody can see. And we are going to pull up, here it is. Here's your lovely hand.
Sorry,
Okay.
cut my thumb off a little bit there.
That's okay. We can still see what we need to see, which, the first thing I like to do is just analyze what your archetype is. So that forms on your hand by the time you're about 6 years old, and it represents the set of subconscious personality traits that you will be bringing in to affect you for the rest of your life. Okay, so this is your left hand that we're looking at. Now, are you left or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Right-handed. Okay, so this is your passive hand. Let's go ahead and take a look at your active hand to start with. So here's your right hand. The first thing I notice about you is you do have very long fingers, and you've got a very wide square palm. Now, this is not surprising. You've been in broadcasting for 40 plus years because you've got an air hand, and air hands are natural communicators. So
Okay.
it doesn't surprise me that you would be wanting to use your voice. You've also got a long little finger, which is called your Mercury finger. This is also air. You've basically got double air. So your archetype is known as the investigator. Okay, so investigator types, the positive side of it is that you are a curious person. You're definitely open to different ways of thinking, different perspectives. This is one of your qualities. You can be quite diplomatic in that way. But sometimes you might miss things that are like, especially when it's yourself, you might miss things that are right in front of you for yourself.
This is true.
Okay. So this is one of your challenges. And the reason that is because of this Jupiter finger, which is your index finger, is a little bit shorter than your Apollo. And this is how you look at yourself. So you actually don't see all of the qualities that you possess when this is the case. Okay, so we want to take a look at what qualities do you have right now that want to be expressed. And this will show up in your phalanges, it'll show up in your talent markers. By the way, talent markers, when they show up, they really, really want to be used, and they need to find a way to be used. Otherwise, we tend to fall into some negative patterns, or we can fall into some stuck patterns. So the first thing I really noticed with your hand, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit so that I can take a closer look, is you do have these very nice vertical lines running through your upper phalange of your little finger. In fact, you've got them running through all of your fingers. Okay, I consider this very, very positive, because the upper phalanges represent your ethereal realm. This is your zone of ideas over here in your little finger, and we call these messenger lines. Okay, so definitely I do not want you to silence that voice of yours. You need to be, if anything, you need to be sharing it more. Okay, so that's considered a talent marker right there. Okay. So, and I like that you've also got it going through your zone of individuality. Okay. Now that's a strong one too. So what that is saying is that you need to remember your unique qualities. Okay. You need to start asking yourself, what are my unique qualities? What is it that I need to be sharing with others that is unique, that other people can't do? That's what I want you to share. You've also got a fairly strong vertical line in your zone of research, which tells me that you could maybe look up stuff and research stuff and then have your own perspective on it. Okay, so I like that zone. And if we just look at the quality of the zone, it's nice and healthy.
Okay.
The only thing stopping you is actually over here in your thumb.
Aha.
Okay. Now, the thumb represents your willpower, and it represents your ability to manifest. Okay. And now your thumb size, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your thumb size. You've got a nice big thumb. By the way, people with smaller thumbs tend to have to work a lot harder to get results.
Interesting.
But people with bigger thumbs it's actually easier for them to manifest if they're focused on the solution. Okay, and that's how we always want to focus. If we're in the problem and in the realm of the problem, we're not going to be able to see the solution or move into the solution. And this is where I see your problem is. You've got vertical lines running through your zone of manifestation. And this represents worries. Okay, so it looks to me like you worry pretty much incessantly.
That is true.
Which is your entire problem right there. So these lines, and you can see like the vertical lines are trying to come out of your thumb.
Okay.
But you've got so many horizontal lines. These are the ones stopping you. Okay, so that needs to stop. Okay, so the question would be, how do I stop worrying?
Right.
Right?
Right, exactly.
How do I stop worrying if I'm always worrying? And the only answer I really have for that is you've got to start focusing on solutions. Okay. One of the best ways that I know to do is to meditate. And I pretty much meditate every single day now, because if I don't, I feel like I'm just not in balance. So I would definitely recommend you focus on, even if it's just a few minutes. See, sometimes people think, oh no, I can't sit for an hour and do nothing, I totally get that. Okay. You don't need to spend an hour doing nothing. And in fact, meditating is not about doing nothing, it's about focusing on the solution. So, what I want you to start doing, and start with even something very short, like 5 minutes a day. Set your timer, set your clock, 5 minutes. Do it first thing when you get up or right before you go to bed. Those
Okay.
are very good times to do this, because that's when your brain is going to be more relaxed, and that's when you're going to be more likely to hear the solution or to receive the solution. Okay. And I want you just to focus on the solution.
Okay.
Okay. So, in other words, it's like, what can I do to move forward? What do I need to do to move forward?
Hmm.
Where do I belong? Where do I, how can I use my talents in the best way? My voice, how can I share my message? What is my message? And the more you start to listen to that, the more it will start to come out. Okay. And
Okay.
you could even record the answer, because you're very auditory,
Hmm.
because you're so much air. You could actually just set, like, if you have a recorder on your phone, just start recording an answer. You don't
Okay.
have to necessarily write it down. I tend to be more of a journaler, but I'm also a fire hand. So I tend to do things. That's just the way that it works for me. But everybody's different. Some people will get visuals, some people will get it more through sensory, but you're air. So my thought with you is you're going to hear it.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
when you hear it, you're going to need to just speak it into the recorder.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be my recommendation for your, how you need to meditate. And it doesn't have to be long. I would recommend working up to 30 minutes. Would
Okay.
be highly, highly beneficial. But yeah, so that's what I'm seeing with you. Okay, so let's also take a look at your career path.
Sure.
Okay, because a lot of people, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in a transition. Where is it that I'm going? What am I doing? Right? Okay, so your fate line is going to show us that. Okay, your fate line doesn't mean you're stuck in fate. It represents a pathway that you're taking that is your how are you handling your duties and responsibilities. Okay, now
Okay.
it's kind of interesting that your lower fate line seems really somewhat spread out. Now, this could be that you've had multiple jobs, you've been kind of moving around a little bit.
Right.
Um, it could be why it appears this way. It's really not all that clear at the base, but then we get a clear line that we see. Okay, and it's starting about halfway up your hand, and it's looking pretty solid. Okay, you see this pretty solidness. This is showing, you've chosen your pathway. Okay, in broadcasting. We do have a little bit of a break here above your heart line. Okay, this is your heart line here. It's the uppermost major line in your hands,
Okay.
and it is definitely earthy, is your primary heart line. You do have a branch that is somewhat curving over to Jupiter, but it stops, and then you've got another little bit of a break, and then it's continuing. Actually, it's more continuing towards Saturn rather than Jupiter. If it were continuing to Jupiter, it'd be over this way. It'd be much longer. So part of you emotionally is you are trying to connect with your needs and your wants. Okay. So a lot of times when we are an earthy heartline, you can be sort of like not really in touch with your feelings. Okay. You might be
Okay.
in touch with other people's feelings, or you might just kind of bury them altogether. Okay. So this is part of why the heartline is doing all of this stuff. But we're looking at where the fate line is going, and the fate line is jogging over, it's connecting back up, and we got a clear line going almost all the way to your Saturn finger. In fact, we have 2 lines. Okay, I see a double line. We could even call that a sister line. Sometimes I would consider it 2 separate lines, meaning you've got 2 career paths at the same time. But in this case, I don't actually feel that that's the case with you. Because these lines are so close together, to me, it feels more like a reinforcement line, or what we call a sister line. And it looks like it's just support. I feel like you have support from somebody, or just finally you're giving it to yourself, which you definitely need to do. Okay, but the good news is you're on track. I suspect that you're probably right here at this heartline period where you're like in that worry mode. Okay, but you're going to pick it up again and it's right here, and then you're going to have so much support, and that's why you've got this sort of doubling going on. Okay, so this is very, very positive. Okay, so basically all you need to do is be in touch with your archetype, which is the investigator, and tap into some of these resources that you've already got in your hands. You've got a strong zone of individuality. You've got these vertical lines running through here. You've got a zone of research. So I would recommend that you start researching things that are, and then tie them into your perspective. And then you need to be sharing those things with others. Okay. Now you have a high set Apollo finger, which means that you do need to be appreciated for your work. Okay. This is a non-negotiable need. Okay. But again, it always goes back to the self first. You need to appreciate your own value.
Right.
Okay. Because remember, with that shorter Jupiter finger, you are not, you don't see it. You don't see all of your talents. You don't realize all of your talents.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I hope that makes sense.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we we could pull a few cards if you like, if you have some specific questions. I brought my golden tarot deck. And if we need to refer back to your hands, we can. But yes, those are the main things that I see from your hands, which is always very interesting.
So. Absolutely. I guess the big question then would be how to get on the level of the solutions, as you were talking about, rather than dealing with things from the point of problems.
Okay.
So to make that move or transition, I guess, would be a good question.
Okay. Yeah, let's pull a card on that to start with. Okay, we're getting the inverted 10 of Cups. Okay. The 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups is a really beautiful card. It shows a happy family with a rainbow of cups over in the sky. There's a lovely castle in the background. There's 2 babies. One baby is actually waving. It's so adorable. And the other baby or child, this one is a little bit older, is just smiling. This is a really, really happy emotional card. Okay. So when it's inverted, basically it's saying that you need to turn this into the upright. Okay. You need to connect to what the essence of this card actually is. Okay. So this is how you get into the solution. Okay, so this is good. I'm so glad you brought this up because this is actually something that is challenging for a lot of people. We, as humans, tend to focus on our problems. We tend to focus on what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with our lives, what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that. And we forget that there's the other side of the coin. What's right? What's right with the world? What's good in the world? What's good in my life? Okay, so this is the happy home life card. It's like, okay, well, let's be in gratitude for what we actually have. You know, we live in the greatest country on the planet, in my opinion.
Sure.
Definitely one of the greatest countries. And in my opinion, also, we're living in the greatest area of the country. You know,
There's that. Absolutely.
yeah, so you're in Colorado, I'm in Arizona, and I feel like the West is just so beautiful and so spectacular. There's so much natural beauty. There's wildlife, there's good weather. We don't have to worry about hurricanes and, stuff like that. Like, we don't need to worry about that stuff. We know that we've got fresh air that's not polluted when we go outside. There's the abundance of resources. There's so much that we can tap into to be grateful for. But this is an emotional card, okay? So for you to be in the solution, now this is a challenge for you because you've got a broken heart line,
Right.
and you've got an earth heart line. Okay, so earth heart line people are not naturally in touch with their feelings.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now this is how the heart line works. The longer the heart line is, the more you're in your feeling mode, but you're already not watery, so you're already more in your head. And because your heart line is shorter, it's basically saying, well, feelings are dangerous. That's sort of, at the worst, that's what your heart line is saying. It's saying, I could be killed for having feelings. Okay. So I better just totally ignore them.
Right.
Okay. So this card, the 10 of Cups, is telling you that for you to really make a shift, you need to get in touch with your feelings, and you need to be in that harmonious realm of what is possible.
Okay.
Okay, so ignore the stuff that's out there that's happening, ignore the negativity, and go, what is possible instead? And I'm going to feel what that feels like in myself.
Okay.
And this is what you do in those meditations, because the more that you're in the feeling of it, the more it will actually anchor into your energetic system. Okay, because you're a being of light. Things can change within you, but it does take a little bit of work. And so you'll see the changes actually show up in your hands over time as you start to make shifts. Okay. So you just need to start feeling those good feelings of the 10 of Cups, which is like, okay, I live in the best place on the planet. I'm so fortunate. Oh my gosh, I've got my health. I've got my wits. I've got this great investigator energy. That's my archetype. I have the ability to discern the truth from the non-truth. I have so many skills. I have a beautiful voice that everybody needs to hear. Okay, these are the things you can start telling yourself. And most of all, I want you to start feeling it. Okay, so that is
great ideas. Sure.
Yeah, that's your advice.
All right. I like it.
Okay. So, so do you have any other questions or comments before we wrap up?
I think that was really the big thing I was looking for, Cynthia, was to getting ideas to where I need to be and go, and it seems like you kind of nailed it as you often do. So I think that totally makes sense as to what I need to do and get motivated with.
Yay. All right. Well, that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I so appreciate you, and I love you all. And remember that life has more meaning when it's shared. Can't wait to connect with you again soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Love in Your Hands. Please rate, review, and subscribe to show your support. Have a question for Cynthia? Just post a comment. This podcast is sponsored by loveinyourhands.com, the place to find soulmate love fast. Start your free Soul Connection membership today, upload your hand photo, discover your relationship archetype, and start finding soulmate matches. Just go to loveinyourhands.com to get started.